Hello and welcome to Natadola Bay, home of the Fiji International. Today I've got with me Graeme, Scott. We're going to run over the holes and the different changes that VJ's made to this fantastic course out here.
Great feedback from the players so far this week, Ryan. I think the course looks fantastic with the changes that's been made, and really positive feedback from everybody this week so far.
Okay, hole number 1 here, which is the old 6th hole in 2016. As you can see here, the tee has been moved much further to the left, which makes it a much straighter tee shot. Often the prevailing wind will be out of the right, which brings that bunker into play, but you know you've hit a bad shot if you do miss this fairway now.
Yeah, it certainly makes it a lot easier getaway hole now, Ryan, because a lot of guys last year taking a line down the right-hand side, bringing the hazard into play, but now they can go straight at that bunker off the tee.
Yeah, it's a brilliant change. I think moving that tee further left really opens it up and makes it much more aesthetically pleasing to the eye.
Okay, hole number 3, formerly hole 8. A lot of the scrub cleared on that right-hand side, so it's opened the view up of the hole a lot more from the tee, so visually much clearer for the player. And then they've made substantial changes to the greens complex, which I think is going to make it a far better hole.
Much better hole. That green was quite severe. Balls would run off. A little bit of spin would bring the ball back probably 60, 70 yards at different times.
Yeah, and I mean, from our perspective as well, Ryan, finding pin positions really difficult. That's given us a lot more options now.
Hole number 4, previously hole number 9. The tee's been moved further to the right, which stops players from taking it over that right-hand side and cutting the hole out. They've also removed that right-hand bunker, which was a really pesky bunker, making you hit your drive further left with a longer green now. The green's been moved back 60 yards or so.
Yeah, much better green. And with the features as well, leaving those palm trees in on that right side, it's going to be a killer pin going in that back right corner. And I know the guys this week have been finding this hole a challenge, mainly because of the wind, having to go left at the bunker. And the shape of the green's great now. It's going to be a real challenge, but I think the guys will enjoy playing it. Hole 5 for this year's championship, formerly hole number 1, and we've moved the tee back to the right about 30 metres, which again changes the drive line for the players. And I guess the ideal line now is to aim it at that left-hand bunker to open up the fairway in the green,
which keeps the ball feeding more towards the middle of the fairway there as well. Often the wind blows out of the left here as well. No change to the green really. The wind will push the ball left to right into that green, and it just sits beautifully on the lie of the land there. It's a brilliant hole. It's going to be quite a tough hole this week.
With that prevailing wind we get here, it will be real tough. The guys are finding it's playing pretty long.
Playing much longer than in previous years for sure. Hole number 6 for this year's championship. Previously hole number 2. Really long par 4, often plays straight into the wind. It's an absolute brutal hole. You've got to get a good drive away. You've got to avoid the bunkers at all costs because often you'll be having a long iron into this tough green, and that is what has changed.
Yeah, they've changed the whole greens complex here on this hole and taken the back to front slope out of it. It was very severe. Didn't really give many front pin positions. We've had a couple of issues with it in the past. But with this prevailing wind again, you're hitting a real long second shot in. And with the winds that are predicted for the week, we may have to consider moving the tee forward on it. It's that tough a par 4.
Hole number 7 here for this year's championship. Usually plays straight downwind. Nothing changed much about the tee, but as we get closer to the green, there's been some big and fantastic changes. It's really improved this hole.
Yeah, I think VJ wasn't quite happy with where the green was located. It was tight over to the left, which it made it a difficult shot. They've moved the green over to the right, changed the contours again, which have opened up the number of pin locations, which is excellent for us. It's well protected with those bunkers left and right, but really the guys are hitting it so far down there that they're really only flicking it in. Yeah, it's a very short approach shot in there now.
That straight downwind gives you a really good chance at birdie this week, and there's also a little drop-off area at the right-hand side of the green there, short right, which I think is going to catch a lot of players out.
Yeah, and you just can't afford to go big. It's you just definitely don't want to go big. Everything falls off and you got no shot out the back. Yeah.
Fantastic hole.
We've got the 8th hole, which is the signature hole for Natadola Bay, and you can see why. It's absolutely glorious. VJ's pushed the green it's a long hole. You're playing 200 metres on this one, and it's pushed right over to the beach. You'll see it's very close to the water. You can't afford to tug it left, and by bringing that wasteland and bunker right up on that left-hand side, there's going to be a lot of trepidation standing on that tee.
Well, especially with a long iron in your hand. It's over 200 metres this hole, and the green is a lot deeper now, which really opens it up for that long island. You're going to have to land it sort of short and have it run up there. The other thing I love about this hole that they've changed is they've taken out all that area on the right-hand side.
Correct.
So it really opens up the shot and makes it so much more picturesque. Not that it needs any help with that, but...
Yeah, and the green's got that little contour down towards the water.
Yeah.
So really, if you've got a back left pin, they're going to have to shape that shot in a little bit right to left and let it run into that hole.
A brilliant hole, and be seeing a lot of pars and a few up and downs there this week, I reckon.
And maybe a few others as well.
Yeah, I reckon. So the final hole of this front 9 at Natadola Bay is a brilliant par 5, made even better now by moving this original tee further to the left, which makes it a much straighter driving hole. They've added a couple of bunkers in up the right-hand side, which will stop a few players from going at it in 2 if they do happen to find those bunkers. They are a long way down there, and the prevailing wind is right to left, but it can sometimes sneak around and be downwind enough to have a look at this green in 2.
Yeah, it's a lot fairer now, Ryan, because with that right to left wind, they've cleared a lot of the scrub on the left. They've opened it up on the right, so the players can certainly take their line off the tee down the right-hand side and have a crack at the green, which in the past, it was like there was about 4 dead elephants in there somewhere. Very difficult to find a pin location, but it's guarded by bunkers. It's still got the same sort of shape to it, but they've taken the severity out of it. Should be a good test.
Always a really tough shot into that hole, because it was sort of, you had that sort of back 2/3 of the green to hit your wedge shot into if you did manage to get it in the fairway and then lay your shot up. And the front third would roll a long way off. So that's a lot flatter now, lot fairer, much more enjoyable hole to play.
Chance for birdie now.
Absolutely.
Well, hole 11 at Natadola Bay, par 5, and it plays into the prevailing wind, which can make it a 3-shot hole, and there's not too many of them left on the tour these days. But you've got to be careful off the tee. They've cut down a lot of the scrub on the right-hand side, so it's a little bit more open, but you don't want to go in there. You really want to lay it up between the bunkers with your tee shot.
It can honestly take 2 good shots sometimes just to lay it up here, but the biggest change on this hole is the changes they've made to the green. It's a lot flatter, not so severe anymore. There's a lot more pin positions out there that the guys can put in and give yourself a really fair shot at making birdie with a nice wedge shot in there after navigating the 2 tough layup shots into the wind.
From my perspective, doing setup on that hole, it gives me the chance to tuck some of these little front pins in there now. So the guys are laying up fairly tight with their second shot, and they're giving a flick in, so you can go that little bit tighter. And they're going to have to nip it in there to get it close for birdie. Beautiful.
And if we see some of the wind that we've seen in the practice rounds, there might be a few more guys going at this green in 2. And again, a lot more fair once you get up there to make your up and down or potentially an eagle. So the 12th hole here at Natadola Bay is probably my favourite hole on the course. It's a real risk-reward hole. They've taken out 2 of the left bunkers, moved them around a little bit, but the biggest change is the creek that runs all the way down this right-hand side. It's a drivable par 4 that a lot of people are going to go for this week, I feel. With the water sneaking around the right-hand side of the green, you're going to need to hit a little cut in for a right-hander, which is going to bring that water into play. And as we get down near the green, even if you hit a great shot in there, that's where the trouble is going to start.
Exactly. It's a risk-reward hole, a classic risk-reward hole, because you can't afford to leak it right, because it's just hazard all the way over there. As you said, the safe shot, if you're going to have a crack at it, is to go for the left of the green. But that doesn't guarantee you anything, because everything falls away on that left side. There's a bunker in there protecting it. If I can be nasty and tuck some of those little pins on that left side, the guys that are going for it, they're on the green, they're going to 2-putt for birdie. But if they miss it left, it's really going to be pretty tough to get up and down, because you've got your wind coming from that left side as well.
And as we say, even if you do go for it and you leak it just a little bit and it hangs into the hazard, you're going to have to drop it back 8-iron distance. It's a
you're
long
going to
way
have to
back.
go back a fair way. We have put a drop zone in because of that, because you line off the tee, it could be that you've crossed fairly well back on it.
Yeah, no doubt. It's a fantastic hole. One of my favourites here at Natadola Bay. It's going to be great to watch this week.
And how good's that view from the tee?
Oh.
Honestly, you're looking straight down there. You've got 3 palm trees and the ocean behind it. Absolutely sensational.
Brilliant sight.
Well, the 13th hole, par 3, cheeky little hole. Well, it's not little. You're still hitting a decent iron in there. If we're playing it off the back tee, it will play very tough. We'll probably start the week off the front. The green shapes tended to stay very similar, almost a little bit more linear there. So you're looking at pins a little bit more in the back right over to the left. But in the past, you couldn't get anything on that right-hand side pin-wise. You're really stuck with middle pin, left pin. You've got a lot more variety now. You're going to be able to go front pins right and tuck it in over to the left on the weekend, which will be awesome.
It is a brilliant sight, these par 3s here at Natadola Bay with the Pacific Ocean down the left-hand side, and it's always really exposed, this hole. Usually plays straight downwind. You can hit some short irons in there, but it always plays quite tricky. I love the flattening of the green. It's going to make it play a lot more fairly, and for you guys being able to put the pins out there, it's going to be a lot easier job for you.
Yeah, well, it is playing long and it's playing downwind, so it's good that you've got that option to go deep, because it's quite difficult for the guys to skip it and get it dancing around the hole there from that length of hole.
No doubt.
But it allows it to run out and feed into the hole.
Hole number 14 here, beautiful elevated tee shot. Probably the biggest change on the course made so far, and it's a change I really, really like. They've taken one of the bunkers out on the right-hand side for the tee shot. It sweeps all the way around the water now, so a lot of guys are going to be laying up just short of the bunker. Some guys are going to take the water on, but it is a big, big carry. And again, another beautiful looking shot into the Pacific Ocean there.
Yeah, we talked about this before, Ryan. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how many of the guys actually have a crack at this one. It's around about 300 metres as the crow flies to hit it, but it's totally blind. You've got a lateral hazard in front of you, you've got some out of bounds over to the left, you've got the water in behind the green, and you've got a new plantation area up behind the green. Real risk reward. I don't know how many will go for it. I mean, the wind's behind them, but the easy shot is lay it up to the corner, because it's virtually a 90-degree dogleg.
That's right. I think a lot of people will be taking the safe option off here and hitting it straight up the green. The other option is to take the water out of play and hit it a bit straighter, but that does block your side out from the green as well, so you can't see the pin. It's all well and good to have a wedge in your hand, but you really want to see where you're hitting the wedge too.
But how much fairer is that new green?
Fantastic.
I mean, the previous green last year, you're hitting it 30 metres up to a green. Not a lot of pin locations there. You had a saddle running through the middle of the green, so it made it real tricky. Good hole. I mean, if you trust your shortish irons in, you got a good chance of making birdie there.
No doubt. I really like the hole, and I think it's a fantastic change. Well, Scotty, the course looks magnificent, and they're the changes that have been made so far by VJ and the crew out here. Absolute A+. Considering the time that they've had to do this as well, I think it's just a magnificent effort. All the changes that we've run through, I think, look brilliant. Massive
project, and I mean the staff have done an awesome job to get it up for the championship. And I think the thing now, from my perspective, from setting the course up each day, we've got the chance to set a new test of golf every day, whereas in the past we were a little bit limited because of the limited pin locations, but now we've got so many options. And the thing is, this week as well, we're going to get a little bit of wind difference each day. The weather's going to be a little bit different, and I think it's going to be a cracking week at golf, and get a bit of sunshine. The coverage will be fantastic out there.
It'll be brilliant. I'm looking forward to seeing a lot more different shots and shapes and stuff that you can play off these new tees and into some of these new greens as well. We've got some of the world's best golfers here, and
some of the biggest hitters as well.
Absolutely. So we're going to see the course played in many, many different ways. So big thumbs up from us. I'm sure you're loving the new pin position possibilities for you, Scotty, and
very excited.
Enjoy it out here at Natadola Bay at the Fiji International.